So I'm continuing on with my Captain Marvel Adventures collection, CGC graded, and this is issue number 82 from March 1948. It is graded 9.4 with off-white to white pages, origin and second appearance of Mr. Tawny, who I think is a fan favorite. He certainly is a favorite of mine. Infinity cover, so this is interesting. So the fellow here and on there, they have the cover is the cover of this comic, and so it's, although Infinity, it's not really Infinity because I don't even know if it's showing within the comic, in the comic, another comic. But it has an Otto Binder story, CC Beck cover. I've not seen one that wasn't a CC Beck cover. Number 82 has 45 graded CGC copies with 2 9.4s, 3 9.2s, and 3 9.0s. So there are 5 graded higher than this one. All right, the next one is number 48 from looks like September, October 1945. So it's the first one I've seen where it's 2 different months. That's a 9.2 cream to off-white colors. This is another Crowley copy, and that's assuredly the stamp that's there. And this one says Crowley copy, file copy. So again, this was owned by the publisher of Fawcett, who kept several for reference materials. This one, number 48, has 60 graded copies with 1 9.8. Wow. 1 9.6, 1 9.4, and 3 9.2s. So there are 3 higher graded copies than mine. Somebody must have found a ridiculously high collection. So my collection has certainly lost some luster. Because I used to have a ton of highest grades. Not so many anymore. This is number 78 from November 1947 with off-white pages. It is a 9.0. And the origin of Mr. Atom, and so I would assume the first appearance of Mr. Atom. I'm not sure. I mean, it does do the... So, I've not noticed that these characters, like first appearances, seem to affect the prices. Another Crowley copy. This one's number 78 has 43 graded CGC copies with 2 9.4s, 2 9.2s, and 5 9.0s. So, yeah, a bunch. And of course, as I've said before, I'm only listing the grades that are higher or equal to mine. There are certainly many that are lower. This is the final comic, number 150. And we have as one of the commenters wrote, there is a red a block up there, which I guess is hiding something, and I'm not sure what it's hiding. He wrote in the comment, now I don't remember. But this one, there are 35 graded copies. There's a 9.2, 2 8.5s, 2 8.0s, and 6 7.5. So this is probably the lowest graded copy I have. You could see the staples here. It looks like the cover's kind of misstapled a little bit, and it's kind of the printing is a little tilted, and so the 7.5 is about the worst I have. This is from November 1953 with Savannah appearance and an Otto Binder story, CC Beck cover and art. This one has, no, I already said what it has. I did find the price I paid for this one, the invoice. I paid $311 for this one. It is currently listed on Comic Book Price Guide for $412. What's interesting is that, well, actually, I'm gonna wait and say that on the next comic. So that's the final one. 1953 was the last Fawcett Comics, and this one is also a later comic, so it's got the red, which I had never noticed before, the red rectangle. This is number 143. There are only 7 graded copies. Okay, there is 1 8.5 and 1 8.0. So mine is, despite being an 8.0, this is the second highest graded CGC in existence, with Otto Binder story, CC Beck art, presumably CC Beck cover. This is from April 1953, and it is a Crowley copy. I paid $180 for this one. It is currently listed at, actually, you know what? Get rid of all those prices. It is listed at $180 raw. That's what it's listed at $180 raw. It is listed at $225 graded. So you get about a $45 increase by getting it graded, which I think doesn't even make up for the price you pay for grading. Now, here's the thing. What I have noticed is the number, it's got to be really hard to come up with prices for these comics because there's so few and so few getting sold. So if there are only 7 graded, how many get sold in a year? Probably 0. Maybe if you're lucky, 1. So it's damn near impossible to get an accurate assessment of what the value is. And of course, the value is what someone is willing to pay for it. So if it's 180 raw, $225, what I've noticed is that for the pricing, it doesn't seem to matter. If there's 100 graded copies or there's 7 graded copies, there's no boost that I've ever seen in pricing based on how few there are, which it would make sense that there would. If there's less, you would think that they would be worth more, each individual issue, particularly since, and the other thing is that the prices don't seem to reflect the availability of a grade. So for instance, $225 for this comic seems really low given that it is the second highest graded copy known to exist for a CGC. You would think it would be a boost, but there isn't. It's graded simply based on the fact that it is an 8.0, not based on the fact that it is an 8.0 on a comic with only 7 graded comics where the highest grade is an 8.5. And when I looked on eBay, eBay has tons and tons and tons of Captain Marvel adventures that are being sold, okay? And what I noticed was a vast majority of what I saw, particularly the ones in the grading range that I would be interested in, are way beyond the prices that are in Comic Book Price Guide, the online Comic Book Price Guide. And the other thing, when I went into sold items, particularly when I filtered based on Captain Marvel Adventure and also based on a grade of like 9.0 and above, 9.0, 9.2, 9.4, there were 0 sold comics. There were a ton on there. They weren't selling. So I don't know if one would sell if somebody put it at a more reasonable price. But what I can tell you is that despite the fact that it had 2 movies, one of which kind of stunk, and also Black Adam, does not seem to be a series with a ton of interest. And certainly people are not willing to buy ones well over the price guide listed price. And maybe no one's listing it at a reasonable price. I don't know. I used to have about 5 different auction sites that I would go on, and I haven't been on any in years. So I don't know what's available out there. But yeah, I stopped collecting, and I'll collecting these, and I'll get into that later on another video. But this is the 5th. I like to show 5, and so next time I'll show 5 more.